Call to order this regular Board of Directors meeting for the Siloam Springs Board of Directors, May 3rd, 2022. Roll call.
Sappington.
Here.
Smiley.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Rissler.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
At this time, if you will please stand with me as Director Hunt leads us in a word of prayer and remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here together tonight. Thank you for what you do for this city, for what you do for the citizens in this city. Thank you for the rain that we've had that's going to bring, hopefully, beautiful May flowers and other vegetation. And Lord, I just pray that you guide us and direct us, and that we do what you want for this city and for the citizens within it. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. And before we move on with our agenda tonight, I am going to take the liberty of making a special presentation and reading a proclamation. And I don't think that the person knows, but anyway, we're gonna see. Renee, would you like to come to the front, please?
I don't think she knows.
I can't take minutes.
This you don't need to take minutes for. Renee has served our city as our city clerk for how many years now? Almost 8. And she has done an outstanding job of doing that and of taking care of those of us who serve on this board and as the mayor of the city. And this happens to be Municipal Clerk Week. So, in recognition of your service and of that, I have a proclamation I would like to read. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to ever be mindful of the neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Judy Nation, Mayor of the City of Siloam Springs, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 1 through May 7, 2022 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Renee Ellis, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Thank you, Renee.
Speech. Speech.
Congratulations.
And thank you all for sharing in that moment with us, and we do appreciate you, Renee. So we will move on with our public input time at this time. The public may address the board of directors regarding any item that is not listed on the board's regular agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the board? If not, the public may address the board of directors regarding any item that is on the consent agenda. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? If not, we will move on. Next is the consent agenda. Item A, Board Goals Workshop Minutes, April 14, 2022. Item B, Regular Meeting Minutes, April 19, 2022. C, Contract, Citywide 3-year Janitorial Contract, CORVUS Janitorial Services, $192,809.52. D, Dedication of Utility Easements and Right-of-Way, 21500 Davidson Road. Item E, Dedication of Utility Easements and Right-of-Way, 400 Highway 412 West. F, Dedication of Utility Easements and Right-of-Way, 3000 to 4000 block of South Elm Street. G, Dedication of Utility Easements and Right-of-Way, 800 block of East Central Street. H, Dedication of Utility Easements, 799 South Lincoln Street. I, Dedication of Utility Easements, 2800 block of Waukesha Road. J, Dedication of Utility Easements, 209 and 215 West Tahlequah. K, Dedication of Utility Easements, 305 East Tahlequah Street and 522 North Madison Street. L, Purchase, Submersible Mixers, Public Works Department, Wastewater Division, JCI Industries Incorporated, $106,619. M, Resolution 24-22, Special Use Development Permit, Short-Term Rental, 130 Dogwood Place. That is our consent agenda. Directors, do you have any comments or questions concerning this consent agenda or any item that you would like to have pulled from the list?
Madam Mayor, can we pull M?
Yes. Reed, go ahead.
I would like to pull M.
Item M. Okay. And Mindy? No, I'm sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead and let's see what you want to pull, and then we'll have discussion about both of those. How about that?
Okay, you want me to go ahead and say
Which
why
one do
I
you want to
pulled
pull? Yeah.
M.
Same
also,
one?
Same one, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, since both of you have requested that to be removed, is there anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with item M being removed?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Miley,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Sappington.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Director Reed, would you like to address this first?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Director Carroll?
For the item M, I do work with the individual or the group that are putting this together, but it is nothing that I receive compensation for, either directly or indirectly. And my vote on this will be what I believe is best for the city.
Thank you. Mindy?
I know you already asked for input from the those here on the consent agenda, but I understand there was a discrepancy with the notification, and that tonight is the actual notification because the date on it was wrong. So I just wanted to make sure that there's no one here that did want to speak to that. Sometimes the consent agenda is a little confusing as to when to speak, so just giving that opportunity.
Okay. So item M, just to make sure everyone understands, is Resolution 24-22, Special Use Development Permit for the short-term rental at 130 Dogwood Place. And Director Hunt is just wanting to make sure that there is no one here that has a question or concern that they would like to have addressed. And if there is not, Directors, any comments or questions on this resolution?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to ask the owners if they're here. This is regarding just one, but there's another one right next to it and a third one of the same architectural, and I'm curious if they are planning to bring those for the same permit. Is there anyone here?
Is there anyone here that can speak to that? Apparently there is not.
Okay. Reed, would you know?
I know that the one next to it is under contract for sale. The third one, which sits down a little bit, I think it is still on the market active, but my knowledge is that it's not going for a rental or a VRBO or anything like that.
Well, this is the only one that's playing right now.
That's my knowledge, yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to approve item M, Resolution 24-22?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Burns.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Sappington.
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next is our regularly scheduled items, ordinances. Ordinance 22-10, third reading, Electrical Department, Code Amendment, Section 98-75.1, Service Extension Fees. And looks like, Johnny, you are going to speak to that tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. John Bland, Construction Superintendent. Due to the increasing material costs, we are proposing this change to the ordinance. This change allows a quarterly price adjustment instead of semi-annual. The developers have been notified and we have not received any comments. We ask your approval of this change.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to Ordinance 22-10? There is not. Directors, comments or questions? There being none, I would accept a motion to place Ordinance 22-10 on its third and final reading, suspending the rules and reading title only.
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Hunt.
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Sappington.
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Philip?
Ordinance number 22-10, an ordinance amending section 98-75.1 of the Siloam Springs Municipal Code for the purposes of updating terms of service and rates for service extension fees.
Thank you. Third reading has been approved. Do I have a motion to adopt Ordinance 22-10?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Rissler.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Sappington.
Yes.
Smiley.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-10 is adopted. Next is Ordinance 22-12, first reading, amending Section 102-21 of the City Municipal Code, rezoning from I-1 to R2 and C2, 2600 block of North Country Club Road and the 1900 block of Brashears Road. Ben?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the board. I'm Ben Rhodes, City Planner. And what you're looking at is a rezoning occurring at the 2600 block of North Country Club. The two zones, well, currently it is zoned I-1. They're requesting to go to R2, single family residential, and then retain one lot as C2 roadway commercial. And so here you see the site plan. This is the old Siloam Springs Industrial Park. So they would be rezoning Lot 9 and the three lots here along Brashears Road to R2, and the remaining lot that's furthest to the east would be C2. Here you see the future land use map, which shows, confirms the residential along the northern part and commercial along the southern, with the C2 being retained in an effort to maintain that commercial designation for part of that area. And here you see the site. This is looking to the north. So some points about this. The landowner has held this property, I think, for at least 20 years as industrial property that they've tried to sell to different people, and none of it has come to fruition, mainly because most industrial users are looking for much larger sites than this property offers, particularly with the smaller lots that are along Brashears Road, just aren't moving in the industrial way. Secondly, as you can see from the photo here, this is an emerging residential area. We have the Endura Park subdivision to the north, and then Mission Hills north of that, and then Nottingham even beyond that. So it makes sense to allow additional residential, in this area, as that's kind of already an emerging land use along this corridor. So with that, staff is recommending approval as well as the Planning Commission, and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address Ordinance 22-12? If not, directors, comments, questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Ben, I just got a question. The commercial will remain on where it is now, right? The commercial that's on the street on that one side.
Yeah, well, let me go back to the first. It's all industrial now.
Right.
But what the future land use map asks for is more commercial along that frontage. So they would be rezoning the one lot here, and then presumably there could be a future rezone for the corner lot, and then maybe that could be combined for a shopping center or something like that.
So the two that are notched out do not go with this?
Do not go. Yeah, that's not part of the property.
And then the 4 individual lots are commercial. Is that on Brashears?
Yeah, the Brashears here. This would be the commercial lot, and then the residential for the rest.
Well, it makes perfect sense with all the other residential going in there. I just remember when this was all industrial zone, and we had hoped that both sides of the street would have been industry years ago, but when you have more homes coming, more residents moving here than industry, you got to do what you got to do. So I appreciate that they still want to have some commercial there that potentially, a convenience store or whatever down the road. That's why I was wondering. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to place Ordinance 22-12 on its first reading, suspending the rules and reading title only?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Sappington,
Yes.
Smiley,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler.
Yes. Motion is approved. Philip?
Ordinance number 22-12, an ordinance amending section 102-21 of the Siloam Springs Municipal Code, City Zoning Map, rezoning from I-1 to R2 and C2, property located at the 2600 block of North Country Club Road and the 1900 block of Brashears Road.
Thank you. Now we will move on to resolutions. Resolution 25-22, significant development permit, 400 Highway 412 West for Schlotzsky's. Ben?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Mayor and members of the board. Ben Rhodes. So before you is a significant development permit. We out 400 Highway 412 West. This is just between the Zips Car Wash and the Walgreens, the vacant lot there. What they're wanting to do is to build a 1,808 square foot drive-through restaurant, which is involving site paving over 20,000 square feet, which would count for it being a significant development. And in addition, they will be doing a lot split, which you approved the easements for that earlier this evening, splitting off about an acre of land there. And so here you see the site plan. It's pretty straightforward. One driveway coming in off of the highway. It will have the counterclockwise movement, which you typically see around the property, with drive-through service on the south, two-lane service that will then merge into a single lane pickup window on the east side of the building. Dumpster corral out on the southeast corner, and adequate parking around the perimeter. Here you see the site as it would lay on the environment, as I mentioned, between the two businesses there. So it would fit in pretty neatly between those two. And then, of course, they would be providing their required landscaping with trees around the edges, as well as interior landscaping around the business. And here are some elevations of what this building will look like. And lastly, we have the property itself, as you can see, just sitting right between the two businesses there. So staff is recommending approval along with the Planning Commission, with one condition regarding the need to have the lot split filed prior to issuing the building permit. And with that, we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience that would like to address Resolution 25-22? If not, directors?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay,
Oh.
Carol.
I was just gonna say Schlotzsky's, yeah.
Oh, that is good. I'm really glad to see this come through. Because there are houses in the back, but it looks like it's far enough away, we have that new ordinance because of the speaker. Is that reflected here?
Wonderful question. That is why the lot split is required, because how the ordinance reads is it's abutting properties. So if there's a buffer or another lot between the speaker box and the residence, then it wouldn't be applicable. So
Okay. And there's no, for some reason, I thought I read something coming in off of Elm, but it's not coming off of Elm, is it? Anywhere?
well, there is a lot that will come off of Elm. The it splits right along in here. So you have a lot now that's to the south, that's off of Elm Street, and then the northern lot would be for the Schlotzskys off of Highway 412.
Affecting Schlotzsky's.
No, I mean the Schlotzsky is causing the lot split because it's all one lot right now. But
What I thought.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Mm.
Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 25-22 with the one recommended condition?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call.
Carroll,
Yes.
Sappington,
Yes.
Smiley,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next is Resolution 26-22, Preliminary Plat Development Permit, Trail Pointe Edition, 2500 block of South Waukesha. Ben?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Mayor and Board. We are now looking at a preliminary plat. This is, as the Mayor stated, at the 2500 block of South Waukesha Road. And it's to create a 38-lot subdivision with multiple housing types, including also some commercial lots per the zoning you see there on the general area map. This is actually a reestablishment of an expired preliminary plat that was approved by the board in December of 2019. The developer just wasn't able to get to starting the subdivision within the year time frame, and so now they're before the board now for renewing essentially the same subdivision. Here we see the side-by-side comparison. So on the left, you see what was originally approved in 2019, and on the right, you see the current plan. As you can see, the layout is identical. There are some minor differences. They are phasing this out. Before it wasn't phased, and so with this, we have street stub outs, or the hammerhead stub outs that are for fire services or emergency services, at the completion of the first phase, before they start the next phase, these would be platted out lots, and so they want to have ability to have vehicles to be turnarounds and not get stuck at the end of the street. So they have that added, and then I believe the street width within the two-family section would be going from 28 feet to 30 feet in width. So it's a little wider street than what was originally approved in 2019. Because parking has been kind of an important issue that's been brought up lately, we did do a little minor study of some of the other two-family developments in town, and looking specifically at the parking. And so, because I believe that might be an issue that could come up this evening with this approval because of the duplex section within the development. So what we're looking at here, this is the Gunter's Edition. This is also referred to the development off of Central Street and Country Club. And these were all taken roughly around the same time, around 4:30 to 5 in the evening. And see, this is a typical parking where you do have parking that is kind of clustered somewhat on this side, with vehicles just not having enough space to park on the property, and they end up blocking some of the sidewalks. What got built there was what you see before you, one-car garages with essentially the driveway just going right out from the one-car garage to the street. With this subdivision, this is Lawless Ranch street view. This Lawless Ranch is the one that's off of Lawless Road, duplex development that I think the board looked at maybe about a year ago, roughly, with the approval of the next phase. So this is, again, around the same time. You still see vehicles parked, but there's a little bit less of them in the sidewalk. In fact, I don't think there were any in this one. And I think part of that was because here, there's a difference where there actually is space for a second vehicle on either side, in addition to the one in the the garage. So no car is blocking the egress of the other car. And then the last one I wanted to share you is Nottingham Edition, which is an older one. This was established, I want to say, around 15 years ago. It's a little bit older. We have, this was on a different day, but around the same time of day, with the parking, really just a few cars in the driveway, and that's about it. And what you see there is actually the dual car garage for both units. So there's actually 4 parking spaces inside the residence, inside the garage. So that's a little bit different than the one car scenarios that we looked at on others. So we did consult with the developer and specifically asked the question about the lot sizes, and are the lot sizes going to work for the parking? And we got a confirmation that they believed it would, and that wouldn't be an issue. And so with that, this is the property. We're looking to the north. And we are recommending approval with no needed conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to Resolution 26-22? There is not. Directors?
Sure.
Yes, David.
Did somebody else?
Mindy?
Yeah, go ahead, Mindy. You may have the same question. Go ahead.
Well, when the developer said that they believe the lot size will work, does that mean that they are planning to do the driveways like those latter ones that you showed, where basically 4 cars could go across? Either there's the one car garage on each side, but enough on the outside for 2 cars on each side. So they believe and they are going to. I'm just confirming.
Well, those were my words, not their words.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, exactly what the developer said is the proposed lots will be able to meet this requirement.
Okay, so it
that's
is a
actually what they
requirement.
said. Yeah.
Okay, good. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that the street width is increased a little bit too, because that will help. But hopefully the size of the lots will give them enough room to park there and not on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Madam
David?
Mayor, I'll ask a question. So I'm a little confused, Ben. Did we specifically say one is required, or it has to be one of the other?
No, what I said is that I needed to verify that the site allowed for 2 parking spaces where both had independent ingress and egress to the street. So we wouldn't allow the first scenario.
Okay.
The one where it's the 1-car garage and the driveway going right. That would not be allowed. Yeah.
Been done, and it's a pain.
Yeah.
My daughter experienced that when, if somebody wants to get out, it's their car or the other car, they've got to move it to get out of the garage. So,
Right.
but what you showed us is there's an option of an extended driveway to the side where 2 cars can, or a 2-car garage that can then just have one drive.
They didn't indicate which option they would
But
go.
I'm saying, is there one that we've required, or is it one or the other?
It's at the preference of the developer or the contractor who's building the.
It just
units.
can't be the way it used to be.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
I just was looking at the picture, and I'm like, boy, you really get rid of all the yard when you do the extended driveway. But I know it's better to be able to have anybody be able to get in and out. I was just going to put somebody on the spot. Ron Homeyer, would you tell us what do you prefer? What do you think? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but then yeah, I do.
You did put me on the spot. Ron Homeyer,
You
civil
have
engineering.
more experience at this than anyone in the room. So what is best of the two, in your opinion?
Actually, I've seen both, and as long as there's room for 2 cars for each unit in front of the building in the driveway, you'll have the same result.
Okay.
Whether they, I haven't seen very many people in duplex neighborhoods who actually park in the garages. They tend to be storage areas.
Okay.
So you need the 4 spaces in front of each duplex to have the best result.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. I know the 2-car garage on each side, that's 4 garage spaces, takes away from the living area. So, it's kind of betwixt and between, but I appreciate you guys trying to solve this problem, Ben. Thank you.
Carol?
Can we make a requirement that they have to have that much space?
Well, the requirement is that each unit has 2 parking spaces. That's what it says in the code. So where the interplay of interpretation is what does that look like? Can you have a parking space in the garage and a parking space blocking out in front and count that? Or would the 2 parking spaces have to be independent of each other? And so we've taken kind of the later stance, given the parking issues that we've seen lately, of not really allowing one space to block another space.
And that's the way it's going to state on their permit?
Well, when we issue the building permits, we will ensure that that's how they're designed.
Because I don't want any more of these stacked like that. I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
And we don't know if this is going to be a single-car garage per unit or a double-car garage per unit.
I do not have that information. Ron does, I don't believe.
At this point, will it come back to us? It won't. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Mayor. Oh,
I'm
Yeah,
not
Carol,
done.
are you through? Do you have more? Okay, go ahead.
So how do we make sure that we specify what we want?
Well, if there's a further regulation on that, we'd have to pass another ordinance to amend the codes. The code essentially just says each unit has 2 parking spaces off-site.
So it's very interpretive.
To some extent, yes.
Yeah, I think we need to probably look at that a little bit more.
So
You-
if I may, as Ben states, the code says 2 off-street parking spaces. And the question is how to interpret and enforce that. And historically, the interpretation was allowing for the tandem parking spaces. One in a garage, 1-car garage, and the driveway behind that. That would have been 2 off-street parking spaces. But because of the problem we've changed our interpretation of that, and therefore the enforcement of that to require two, as Ben said, two independent off-street parking spaces, and that is not counting any in the garage.
Okay,
Because we have also determined, as was stated, that, you know, sometimes your two-car garages don't really fit two cars. Sometimes people use them for storage. And the fact that somebody could come back a year later and buy a permit to convert the garage space to heated and cooled space.
right.
So having those two independent parking spaces on the driveway will ensure that that is always met. And so it's an interpretation issue. I don't believe there's another code. We just need to, write the internal policy that that's how that code will be interpreted and enforced going forward.
I hope we do that so that we get away, because I know that code enforcement doesn't want to be called out all the time because there's all these cars out in the street. That's not fair to public safety to have our officers taking care of that. So,
It will likely not solve all of the parking problems, but
Right.
will go a long way in solving some of the problems that have been brought to city staff in some of the other two-family areas.
I think you're always going to have some parking, so I appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Marla.
Ben, I just don't want to see how we have at the end of our subdivision when Lake Francis has the duplexes and there's just like a car in the yard and a car this way and a car this way. And if the code can be interpreted in two different ways, do we need to go the extra length of clarifying the code, making sure it says that they need to have the two and the garage is not included?
I don't think it would be difficult to do that. I would probably suggest this in the next general code update because we have many different changes that could be made. It would be simply just adding a clause on there, each independent egress or independent ingress for each parking spot. And I think that would handle it.
Well, I think we need to look into doing that, like Carol said.
Yeah.
That we need to make sure that we do have that parking and the garage is not included as one of the parking.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mindy.
That was my initial question too, is do we need to possibly amend the code? Now, what I heard Philip saying was that it's how we interpret it, but that was my initial question. So if it's up to interpretation, who has the final say on the interpretation? And it sounded like we are the ones that the city can interpret, and that's what goes. Because if we're just saying enough parking for two, and we allow the developer to interpret, so it seems like we either need to amend the code or we need confirmation that we're the ones that make that interpretation and then enforce that interpretation.
Since the original issue and concern came up, we sat down with staff sat down, and we all looked at what the code required, how it was being enforced, how it was being interpreted, and what other options we had. And yes, we can amend the code to be very, very specific. I think in every code, you have to have, you have to find a way to interpret it and to enforce it. The developer doesn't have the opportunity to interpret it on their own. We are already enforcing Ben's policy regarding two independent off-street parking spaces that are not, the garage is not counted as one of those. And we will make that an internal policy within the Community Development Department. I'll sign it. That'll be the way it will be enforced.
As long as we have that authority to be the final interpretation.
Yes. And we'll make sure that the building official is very aware of it and make sure that when the building permits are issued, those two off-street parking spaces, not in a garage, are part of that plan.
Anyone else? Yes, Brad.
I I like this developer, but the thing that concerns me is the letter to that's attached in this, the planning. Because we are the developer, builder, and owner, we do not intend to create neighborhood covenants. So immediately, that tells me there's gonna be a long-term issue, with code enforcement. And the other problem that we're experiencing with code enforcement is that multiple buildings or multiple structures are owned by individuals that lease them out, and then we have a hard time tracking down and enforcing. So that's the trifecta that we're dealing with now. Guntner Street as an example, and I don't even want to mention Central, but go by there and take a look at it. And second, as we expand these parking, we also create hard surface, which increases runoff. And as much as we need to do that, there is a secondary problem to that. When we create that runoff, how are we going to treat and discharge that water? Because if you see where that area is located, and then where the water source is located, and that is our drinking water. So as we expand to the south, and I'm all about it, we need to take extra precaution on these runoffs as we start to approach the river valley and really consider, the bioswales and reducing the retention ponds and start scrubbing water before we release it. And that would be my strong words of encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 26-22?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Sappington,
Yes.
Wiley,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Bristler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next, Resolution 27-22, Preliminary Plat Development Permit, Fox Meadow Edition, 600 to 700 block of East Lake Francis Drive. Ben?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Mayor, members of the board. So we are looking at another preliminary plat. This was one that was actually approved very recently. It was last year, 2021. And the developer has requested to amend their plan. So that does require going back to the Planning Commission, City Board for a new approval because the design is different than what was originally looked at. We're at the 600, 700 block of Lake Francis Drive, and the request is to replat the property into 9 single-family lots. This is the revision of the Fox Meadow preliminary plat. So here you can see side-by-side comparison of what's changing. So what you guys approved in 2021 is on the left. If you recall, there was a cul-de-sac that came up and went around, and this was all going to be 2-family duplex housing. What they're doing now is eliminating the street altogether, only using Lake Francis Drive as the street. And all the lots would front along Lake Francis Drive. And we wanted to make sure the driveways were consolidated as much as possible. So each one of these 8 lots, and then the 9th is in the back, don't have an individual driveway out on Lake Francis because that impacts safety when you have so many driveways coming out all on a busy street. So what they're doing is they've combined a shared access driveway for, as you see, that one's a single because it's an odd number, but you got these lots that would have the drive access separated like that. If you see here, we did look at whether there were driveways on the other side of the street. In this case, there are not. As you can see, the houses are facing onto the side streets. So there's nothing out along Lake Francis Drive, just a fence row. So how all the lots essentially would be facing out onto the street like that. And then with the back lot for the detention and back behind there, it would be basically what it would look like. And that is all I have on that one. So staff is recommending approval as well as the Planning Commission, and we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address Resolution 27-22? There is not. So, directors?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Ben, I have a question. So a minute ago, can you go back to where you were drawing, yeah. I understand that these are driveways, or supposed to be driveways, and then they go off to the right. Have we done, I mean, there's a large amount of traffic that goes on this road, is there not?
I don't know if it's considered really large compared to other roads. I mean, there's some traffic on it for sure, but.
Pretty busy. So what does it mean when you're doing that? When you're curving, does it mean they're going to drive into something, or
Yeah,
how's that
this
going to work
is,
as far as backing
so
out?
you would have a house here, and then the driveway would basically come up to the house. And I believe these are very deep lots, so there'll be enough space. If I understand, the builder did that intentionally so that there'd be space for someone wouldn't have to back out onto
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Lake Francis. Yeah, they'd be able to turn around on the lot and then head face out.
Is the builder's going to build them? The buyer can't say, I want it at the front of the lot, their house.
I believe the representative of the builder is here. I can't speak specifically on where the house will go on the lot. So.
See if I can answer that. Ron Homeyer, Civil Engineering again. Yes, the developer is the builder. He is going to build these. He did the same thing across from the old high school there on Dogwood Street.
Okay.
And so the lots are deeper and the houses are set back further, so there's room for all the maneuvering on the lot itself, so that they're pulling out onto the road.
Okay, so he's not going to let buyers come in advance and say, instead of having the house here, I want it here. And
Well, even if they did, it wouldn't work, so he's not going to allow them to do that.
okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
Hey, Ron,
Brad.
while you're up here, so it's the, on Dogwood there, that craftsman style house?
Yes, it's the ones between Jefferson and Tulsa.
Yeah, those look real nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone
Madam Mayor?
else?
And I was just going to say the same thing. That development there at Dogwood has just really added to that area. And I think will be a great addition for over on Lake Francis. So, and it seems to, I go by there a lot. I've never really noticed any issues with people getting in and out of their driveways. So, it seems to work pretty well.
Madam Mayor,
Marla?
I don't know who to address this to, but have we decided which side of the street we're going to put sidewalks on when we redo? I'm just curious because it looks like they have a pretty good sidewalk on that side, but I just would like to know.
Yes, Justin Bland, city engineer. We have plans currently to put a side path on the north side, which would be on this side of it, which would be the wider, multi-directional. And then we're going to go ahead and connect the dots on the other side with just a standard sidewalk. So it'll actually have it on both, but the main connection will be on the north side in front of this development.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Anyone else? Not? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 27-22?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Wiley,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes?
Hunt,
Yes.
Rissler,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Sappington.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Next will be our staff reports. Philip?
Madam Mayor, thank you, and board. You have the March financials in your board packet, as always. Feel free to call myself or Christina if you have any questions on those financials. For my administrator's report, I have a few expenditures to report to the board and then a few updates. So in the electric department, $45,099 for 300 AMI meters for inventory, $88,000 in the electric department for 27,500 feet of 4-aught primary wire for inventory. And then in February and January of this year, you approved the purchases of two slope mowers, one for the airport and one for parks. Both of those slope mowers were spec'd out to have rear discharge, and we could not get the rear discharge components. So we ended up having to add to that for a side discharge, and that increased the cost of those by $318.60 for the airport and $218.39 for Parks and Rec. But I wanted to update the board that those prices had changed slightly. And then based on Resolution 6121, and also that is effective of the $88,000 for the 4-aught primary wire. In the electric department, we contracted to purchase 3 500 kVA 3-phase pad-mounted transformers for $71,751, 30 37.5 kVA single-phase pad-mounted transformers for $95,550, and 28 50 kVA single-phase pad-mounted transformers for $99,120. All of those transformers, like the other ones, are scheduled to be manufactured next year, and we're just agreeing to get our order in. Regarding the spring cleanup, the sanitation department picked up over 170 tons of materials. The tipping fees at the landfill cost the city just over $5,500, and there were 494 personnel hours spent working on that event through that week. So there's more staff members than what sanitation department had. We had about 20 staff members averaging about 24 hours each during that week. And then the next to last thing, or the last thing on my list, next to last thing I wanted to report, there's a lot of information out there about the bipartisan infrastructure law. That bill has about $1.2 trillion assigned over the next 5 years. And in trying to do some research, and what you have before you on my report, $55 billion is set aside to expand access to clean drinking water, $65 billion for high-speed internet, $110 billion for repairs of roads and bridges, $25 billion for airport repairs and maintenance, and $25 billion for clean energy transmission and grid improvements. We have been successful at the staff level at various times of writing grants and getting grants. They've been typically local and at the state level. These grants through that bipartisan infrastructure bill are much more detailed and require a significant amount of time. And subject to any objections from the board, what I would like to do is to draft a request for proposals from grant writing firms and potentially contract with a grant writing firm that might require a budget amendment depending on the cost, and if so, to submit that to the board at a later date to try to go after some of this money. There's no way that I can promise you that in doing so we would be able to secure any grants for roads, bridges, or broadband, which are, I think, part of our definite needs. One of the biggest needs that we have today is the Main Street Bridge. It's going to need to be replaced at some point, and there's a number of issues along with that. Obviously, broadband is out there too. But it requires a special talent to write grant reports for the feds. And we do not have that talent nor that time to be doing that. So during your reports, I'd like at least some feedback. I can't promise you that if you agree to it, that we would be able to secure any grants, but I feel comfortable saying that if we don't, we won't get any, just because we don't have the time. We saw one the other day, the deadline, it was a infrastructure grant. The deadline was 2 months out. We ended up talking to Karen Curry at AML. She thought we could get a grant writer for about $25,000. We talked to 2 different grant writers, and they were asking anywhere from $75,000 to $120,000 to be able to do that. Now, it was a very short window, 2 months out, So that's one of the issues, is try to get ahead of that, and hopefully that cost isn't the same. But I believe it's appropriate to try to go after some of the federal grant monies that's out there when you're talking about $1.2 trillion over the next 5 years for some of our infrastructure needs. Last two things I had that are not on the list, the study for broadband, I should have a draft of that in my inbox in the morning. So I'll be looking at that, and hopefully once that's finalized, we'll be bringing that report to the board. And then the last thing I wanted to point out in this room, we had the curtains created and made into valances above the shades. They hide the old screw hose where the frame was there, and also hide some of the watermarks that were there in the past. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Board. That's my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Philip. I think they look very nice. They make it look finished.
They do, yes.
First, I would like to just congratulate the Chamber of Commerce on a very successful Dogwood Festival. Everyone I talked to thoroughly enjoyed the 2 days that we had of sunshine and warm weather, so thank you and congratulations on that. I just want to again say thank you to Renee for her service to the city and to us as mayor and board. We value your taking care of us like you do, so thank you. With that, we will go to the directors for your comments. Mindy, if you would like to start tonight, and David, if you will end for us, please.
Okay. In response to your question about our feedback for grant opportunities and getting a grant writer, in one of my former lives, I had to write very, very small grants, and it's a big job to even write very small grants, so I do understand the need and the desire to have a professional doing that. I'm wondering, do we have any idea of what kind of cut will be donated out of any of these different amounts? Like if there's 65 billion for reliable high-speed internet, are they going to give out 100,000 at a time or $1 million at a time, or do we have any idea of that?
I do not know at this time. I'm still weeding through the thousands of pages of bills to try to figure all that out.
I would just hate to spend 75,000 to 100 for a grant writer if the most we might be able to get is 75 to 100,000.
Clearly
so
would not do that.
we
yes.
will. We will have that information at some point.
Well, the idea would
similar.
be to enter into some sort of agreement that's on a contractual basis, that if we decided that we had this project and we wanted to go after this amount of money, then contract with them to write the grant for it. And yes,
and get as
if
much
it was
toward
$100,000
that.
grant for a $100,000 grant contract, it wouldn't make any sense.
I know you wouldn't do that, but I just didn't know what kind of
Right.
cuts we might get. So you would be going for specific projects
We
related
would be
to these
working with
different
them
areas.
to try to find specific grants. Yes.
I am supportive of getting a grant writer to help with that. To echo what the mayor already said, thank you, Renee, for your work, for putting up with us, and not always being able to hear me way over here. And also congratulations to those who put on a successful Dogwood Festival. And it was nice to have a couple of windy but not rainy days to be able to enjoy the festival. So I believe there is a meeting coming up about the East Main Street design, May 12th. And then one more thing. The staff appreciation luncheon, is that this Friday? And can you remind us what time you would like us to be where?
Starts at 11:30.
Okay.
At the Fire Station 1.
Fire Station 1.
Before just maybe 11:15.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Brad?
Philip, I'm for a grant writer. I'm curious, and I know it's early out, and I don't know about federal level, but if we got a grant writer awarded a grant, do those grant reimburse us for the cost of the writer?
Some will, some won't, but it just depends on the individual grant, and I haven't gotten far enough along to look at these issues as it relates to the bipartisan infrastructure law. I don't know that yet.
Thank you. The Dogwood Festival, I'll tell you what I enjoyed most, the car show, and putting it down on Broadway, and just the expansion of the car show was fantastic. I did get a little negative feedback, but I reassured the business owners, it's 1 day a week, and, you know, or 1 day a year, I'm sorry, 1 day a year, and I hear them loud and clear, but, I don't know, I enjoyed that aspect of it, so anyway, and thankful for the weather. A couple things on the kayak park, as we come into summer on Fisher Ford, what's the enforcement plan this year? And then second would be, I think we received a grant for stream bank restoration that we never fall through. I'm not sure if that's planned for after this season, is that what's gonna happen?
The staff worked with IRWP, and because of some changes that they had in trying to get contractors, we didn't feel like we had enough time this spring to get it in and get it seated and have it set, so they're looking at doing it in the fall. The plan is to hire part-time police officers that are going to help with enforcement of parking down at the kayak park and other issues as it relates to alcoholic beverages and open fires and those sorts of things. We are also, I believe, we have a meeting with the IRWP and some other concerns, but also we'll be talking about that, I think, around the 1st of June.
Thank you, Brad. Marla?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I want to thank the staff for getting the kayak park ready for the weekend of the Dogwood Festival. We had some concerns about it, and they were able to get it up and running. Also, the Dogwood Festival was a success, except for my grandkids didn't get to get in the bounce houses because it's too windy, and I didn't want them to get blown away. So it was really fun down there. Is a huge crowd. So you know, as we continue to look at the funding that we give to the chamber, I would like to see what percentage of their budget is our contribution, and look at some of the financials before we, you know, make a decision on that again. I have a great concern with detention and retention ponds, and as we continue to approve developments, I would like to see us have some guidelines about whether or not we're going to fence around them, how to take care of them, because, you know, houses bring children, and we want to keep the safety of the children. So I think that we need to look into doing some.
Staff is working on an ordinance right now, and hopefully to bring that forward at the next board meeting. Also, Director Ressler, you had pointed out that we had dropped the ball on a noise ordinance. We're working on that, and hopefully both of them will be on the next agenda for first reading. I won't make promises, but that's the goal that we're working toward.
Hope. Also, I'm going to keep pushing for a community center. I think it's very important. And I am visited with the Boys and Girls Club, Northwest Arkansas director, and they're in great need of a teen center, which the property where we had on Heritage Court for fire department would be something that would be really nice to have a building there that would be shared between the teens from the Boys and Girls Club and also the seniors. And, you know, because we have lots of seniors that go out for silver sneakers and stuff out at JBU, and it might be nice that they had a building or area that they could do that closer to where they lived. And as you mentioned, some of the updates coming from some of the working groups, I think it's very important that we continue to see and hear that some kind of progress is being made on those. And there is a CPAC meeting, our final one. It'll be May 19th at 6 at the library. And this is the final one for our comprehensive plan. So this is a great opportunity for the community to go ahead and give their input. And grant writing, it's difficult. It takes a skilled person to do that. But I don't want to go out and get a grant writing company. I would rather see we get a federal programs coordinator on staff that would spend their whole time looking for funding that fits our needs, and that would also be able to write the grants. I believe you could secure one of those easier, more dedicated to the city by doing that. And most of the grants, you write in administrative fees as well. And that would be extra compensation for them getting the grants. But I think that we need someone like that on staff. I don't think we need to spend it to find a company to do it. I think it's an ongoing need for someone on staff. And kudos to Renee. So we appreciate you, and I'm done.
Thank you, Marla.
You're welcome.
Lisa.
As far as the grant writing, I would want to look at them one-on-one. But hearing what Marla had to say, I kind of agree. That's one of the things we learn in business is that you build relationships. If you had an employee here that built those relationships at the federal level, it would benefit the city, and especially when we start doing grant writing. And so much attention's going to Renee tonight. We want to give her some more. She's loving it over there. Congratulations, Renee. And I want to remind everybody we have a prayer meeting. Our monthly community prayer meeting is Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Philip, yes to the grant. I want to give my own shout out to Director Burns tonight. Thank you for your voicing of the parking issue with duplexes, and I think part of your voice helped initiate what's transpired, and I think it's a good thing. Thank you for that. Mr. Ray, thank you very much for your time and your effort. Next week, May 9 through 14, the post office is going to have a food drive, and that's something that you can take canned items to the post office. You may want to get on their site. I think the city may have something as well on that as far as how you can get food to them, whether they may even pick it up at your mailbox. I won't guarantee that one, but the food's going to be distributed locally. And I think even our Manna Center will be a part of that. And it's something we've done for the last 30 years. We, meaning the post office, has. And they're had opportunity to see the employees this morning make proclamation in absence of Madam Mayor. I was glad to do it for her. But they take a lot of pride in it, and I think we as a community can stand behind them and support that. I'm looking forward to the staff lunch on Friday as well. And Saturday morning is going to be followed up with going to the market down by the library. So it's a wonderful week. We've seen some rain, but I'm ready to see a little bit of sunshine and brighten it up a little bit. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Reed, and thank you for doing that for me this morning. I'm sure that they were glad that you were there and did a good job. Carol.
Philip, I am in support of an RFP for a grant writer. I have done some grant writing, not much. It's very time consuming, it's very detailed, and I think you need someone that dedicates themselves to that, is very familiar with that. I want to shout out to the Chamber for a wonderful Dogwood Festival, also to the Kiwanis, because I've been going to their Kiwanis or their Dogwood Festival breakfast for many years, and it was once again very good. Thank you to the sanitation and all those that aren't even in the sanitation department that helped pick up and clean up during cleanup week. I want to encourage people, if you have not signed up, sign up for Code Red. We've had a lot of storms. We are probably still going to have some storms, and you can sign up by going on to, I believe, on the website, and you can sign up there. And I think you will be very glad that you did. I will be attending that East Main on May the 12th for the East Main development. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I want to congratulate Renee. She's helped me tremendously. She's a good support for all of us, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And David?
Pardon me. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Congrats to Renee. I've known her about my whole life. Graduated in 1979 from Siloam High School. And here she is, all of our bosses. So thank you. Our boss of all of us, I should say. So thank you for always supporting us and giving us what we need. I also wanted to congratulate Sam D. and Dale Bennett, who retired after many years from the city. I was not able to be here last meeting when they were recognized, as well as our new officers. It's always good to know we're recognizing new police officers who come, and fire department officers as well. Philip, on the thing that everybody was talking about, the grant writing, you said in your report you need a budget amendment. Will that be something that you need after you find somebody or before?
I said it in the report that we would need it, and what I said in the statement is depending on the cost, we might need it.
Oh, okay.
It will depend on what that, if we hired somebody, we would obviously have to amend the budget. If we hire it through a contractual basis, it will just depend on what each job is, and we may ask for a budget amendment on a job-by-job basis, ask for a budget amendment to put money aside specifically for a grant writer and then pay it out of that. I just don't know yet, but I didn't want you to think if we go that route that there wouldn't be likely a budget amendment associated with it.
I fully support it. When you see the billions of dollars, and we're talking about big capital B, over 5 years, it'll pay for itself, and I know it is a very, very, especially at the federal level, when you realize that they will write 1,000 pages on where to go to the bathroom. We have to be able to go and have a decent person that knows how to read that stuff, sift through it, and I would suggest if you hire a company or an individual, that you look at Little Rock or Tulsa or Oklahoma City, maybe even a lobbyist or a former lobbyist that has connections. I sure wish getting a new PSAP was on one of the options there. But anyway, I'm glad to see that you're pursuing that. I believe this, from everything I hear on the Dogwood Festival, it was possibly the best ever from what I've heard. And I just want to congratulate the Chamber Board as well as the CEO, Arthur Holbert, for another job well done representing our city. I got my corn dogs, Indian tacos, funnel cakes, and lemonade, and took it out to my mom, and she was so excited. So thank you for always having the quality food trucks that we have there. Then I had a little confusion when Brad was talking about the kayak park. Did we say we had a grant to do restrooms? I couldn't tell what he said.
We have a stream bank restoration.
Oh, okay.
So the kayak park's been loved to death, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stream bank is eroding, and some of the trees, the roots are all exposed. So we got a grant we put money in this year's budget. I think it was last year's budget, and it rolled over to this year, and we got a 50-50 grant from the Walton Family Foundation to do additional stream bank restoration.
Okay, I just didn't hear it, and
done.
I thought we already had hard.
We have restrooms, yes.
Yeah, so I got confused. Thank you. The only other thing I was gonna say, it looks like we got a letter from a concerned citizen, and it's always hard to interpret based upon specific info when it's not signed by an individual. But I hope that we will investigate and get serious about holding all employees to the highest standard that we expect of our citizens. So I hope that is pursued. I don't think that I had anything else. I'm just looking at my notes. Thank you, Philip, for the job you do, and thank you, city staff.
Director Allen, I received a copy of that email and I'm taking the appropriate action.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Is there something that you'd like to make a motion about?
Oh, do I have to? Yes,
No.
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a second. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Well, I'm usually ready on that, and I just